The Magic Finger, pages 24 to 33. The Greggs flew down and sat on the wall near the door. Mrs. Gregg began to cry. Oh dear, she sobbed. They have taken our house. What shall we do? We have no place to go. Even the boys began to cry a bit now. We will be eaten by cats and foxes in the night, said Philip. I want to sleep in my own bed, said William. Now then, said Mr. Gregg, it isn't any good crying. That won't help us. Shall I tell you what we are going to do? What? They said. Mr. Gregg looked at them and smiled. We are going to build a nest. A nest, they said. We can't do that. We must do it, said Mr. Gregg. We've got to have somewhere to sleep. Follow me. They flew off to a tall tree, and right at the top of it, Mr. Gregg chose the place for the nest. Now we want sticks, he said. Lots and lots of little sticks. Off you go, all of you, and find them and bring them back here. But we have no hands, said Philip. Then use your mouths. Mrs. Gregg and the children flew off. Soon they were back, carrying sticks in their mouths. Mr. Gregg took the sticks and started to build the nest. More, he said. I want more and more and more sticks. Keep going. The nest began to grow. Mr. Gregg was very good at making the sticks stick together. After a while he said, That's enough sticks. Now I want leaves and feathers and things like that to make the inside nice and soft. The building of the nest went on and on. It took a long time, but at last it was finished. Try it, said Mr. Gregg, hopping back. He was very pleased with his work. Oh, isn't it lovely, cried Mrs. Gregg, going into it and sitting down. I feel I might lay an egg any moment. The others all got in beside her. How warm it is, said William. And what fun to be living up so high, said Philip. We may be small, but nobody can hurt us up here. But what about food, said Mrs. Gregg. We haven't had a thing to eat all day. That's right, Mr. Gregg said. So we will now fly back to the house and go in by an open window and get the tin of biscuits when the ducks aren't looking. Oh, we will be pecked to bits by those dirty great ducks, cried Mrs. Gregg. We shall be very careful, my love, said Mr. Gregg, and off they went. But when they got to the house, they found all the windows and doors closed. There was no way in. Just look at that beastly duck cooking at my stove, cried Mrs. Gregg as she flew past the kitchen window. How dare she? And look at that one holding my lovely gun, shouted Mr. Gregg. One of them is lying in my bed, yelled William, looking into a top window. And one of them is playing with my electric train, cried Philip. Oh dear, said Mrs. Gregg. They have taken over our whole house. We shall never get it back. And what are we going to eat? I will not eat worms, said Philip. I would rather die. Or slugs, said William. Mrs. Gregg took the two boys under her wing and hugged them. Don't worry, she said. I can mince it all up very fine, and you won't even know the difference. Lovely slug burgers, delicious worm burgers. Oh, no, cried William. Never, said Philip. Disgusting, said Mr. Gregg. Just because we have wings, we don't have to eat bird food. We shall eat apples instead. Our trees are full of them. Come on. So they flew off to the apple tree. But to eat an apple without holding it in your hands is not at all easy. Every time you try to get your teeth into it, it just pushes away. In the end, they were able to get a few small bites each, and then it began to get dark. So they all flew back to the nest and lay down to sleep. All right, let's look at the comprehension questions for the Magic Finger, pages 24 through 33. Our first question says, why do the Greggs decide to build a nest? Is it A, to lay their eggs, B, to have a place to sleep, or C, to give to the ducks as a gift? And that is B, to have a place to sleep. Number 2, how will the Greggs gather sticks without using their hands? Is it A, with their mouths, B, with their feet, or C, with their wings? The answer to number 2 is A, with their mouths. Number 3, what do the Greggs use to make the nest feel soft? A, leaves and sticks, B, leaves and feathers, or C, sticks and feathers? The answer to number 3 should be B, leaves and feathers. Down at the bottom, number 4, why do the Greggs fly back to the house? A, to spy on the ducks, B, to have fun, C, to get food to eat. And the answer to number 4 should be C, to get food to eat. Up at the top for number 5, what do the Greggs see inside the house? A, the ducks are gone, B, the ducks are flying around, or C, the ducks are using their things? And that should be C, the ducks are using their things. Number 6, what does Mrs. Gregg suggest they eat? Worm burgers, hamburgers, or nothing? And number 6 should be worm burgers. Yuck. I don't think I could eat a worm burger. Number 7, what do the Greggs end up eating? Worm burgers, apples, or biscuits? And they end up eating apples. 7 should be B. Down at the bottom, number 8, what makes eating so difficult? If you remember, they don't have hands to hold the apple, so they keep moving. So they don't have hands to hold the apples while eating. And those are the answers to our comprehension questions. I hope you have a wonderful day.